So anyway, while we get started, Dr. B, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Rich, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good.
Um, so yeah, this episode right here of the Facebook Live was kind of inspired by my recent videos and
Yeah.
also your recent videos about, keeping busy and you know, what the hell's going on out there? Like, how do
Yeah.
we like get through with COVID-19 and everything, the new normal and all the stuff that's going on?
Right.
I mean, I know I've been hitting up the social media world with mindset tips. I know you've been doing the same. You had some really cool videos.
Thank
Uh,
you.
what was it? Something about breaking out of the fear and
Right.
like all that stuff. So let's give these people some good tips on how
Absolutely.
to kick some ass out there, beat those quarantine blues. Because remind me again, where are you located again?
I'm in Connecticut. I'm right outside of Hartford, Connecticut. So we are, from what I understand on the news, Connecticut is now the hot spot
Oh,
we have the highest saturation or one of the highest saturations of cases per capita. It's probably partly because of our proximity to New York and partly because that's just what happens and, as this progresses across the United States.
right. Okay. So
Yeah,
you're
last count, I just checked that I have a that just it's probably like a bad idea to be watching a lot of news, right? And like reading a lot of newspapers right now. So I stay away from most of that stuff, but the one kind of guilty I can't even call it guilty pleasure because it's the least pleasurable thing I could do. But I have this article that all I do is I refresh and it shows me how many documented cases per
oh
town
Jesus.
in the state of Connecticut. So I just watch, I like scroll down to my town name and I just watch and see the numbers like popping up every day. So we now in my town have 36 documented cases. In the town where my daughter's boyfriend lives, they have a
Uh-huh.
thousand.
Holy crap.
So it's
Now,
and that's documented cases. That's not necessarily like somebody who's very very ill from it. They might just be somewhat symptomatic. It could be some tragic stuff. We've lost one, at least one community member has died
okay.
in my town so far. So yeah, it's serious stuff. It's like the Grim Reapers walking with a sickle, down the street, and we're just trying to, hide from it. So it's bringing up a lot of anxiety for people,
Hmm.
and rightfully so. People have lost jobs, people have been furloughed, people are, trying to figure out how they're going to get their next meal safely. Which
Hmm.
when we started this, I talked about the kind of like tick 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 of the bar coming down. Of first it was not really big groups, guys, and then it was not groups at all, guys, and then it was stay 6 feet away, and then it was stay away from people. And I saw this meme last night and it was like, now the floor is lava. like,
Uh-huh.
like you just like, what's next? Like, what are we going to say next? So I think people are trying to, I think if we'd stayed at the first step, people
Hmm.
would have acclimated to that one. Or if we'd gone from where we were to where we are, we might have acclimated to this quickly. But I
Hmm.
think it's this like ticking of
Hmm.
moving us further and further. It's like, where are we going? Like, when does this end? And I think we have this natural inclination to want to control things.
Hmm.
And you can't control a microbe that is faceless and nameless, right? And
Right.
we're not, infectious disease experts, although some of us think we are on Facebook.
Hmm.
But we're trying to figure out how to manage through this, and they're just it's very difficult. And so I guess I want to start with compassion. I
Cool.
think a lot of times we try to talk ourselves out of things, and this is unprecedented. None of us have ever lived through anything that looked like this. Just like
Hmm.
when 9/11 hit, none of us had lived through anything that looked like that. So trying to use some of our old coping skills and things we've always done to figure this out sometimes show up pretty empty in
Hmm.
that space. So we need to figure out how to start with compassion, how to start with just an understanding of whoa, like I don't know exactly what to do here. I don't know what my resources are. I don't know exactly how to manage this. So I think that's one of the reasons why people are so active, Rich, on social networks and social
Mhm.
communities, is because they're searching for those answers and those responses and those tips and those helpful tidbits that are going to help them navigate their days, like
Mhm.
homeschool their, 3 children when they haven't seen the new math ever, or whatever. Like try to manage really irritable teens, like in my house, who want to kill me because we're just not used to spending this much time together, and especially not under this stress.
Mhm.
So I think people are looking for those things, and so thank you for allowing us to be on this call to talk about that. So
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, because it's almost like we jumped right in, and I just want to introduce you to
oh hi.
everyone from my network, my social sphere, and whatnot. So right now, everybody who's watching this, whether you're watching in live in person on here on Facebook, or you're going to watch sometime in the future once we cut out all the nonsense before and after, and we put it up on YouTube and things like that. So Dr. B had you on here, had you, Bridget, on my show, 10-Minute Mentor, last year. We had
Yep,
so much fun.
we
And
did.
I know that you're a member in our Facebook group,
Mhm.
and you and I have both been putting out videos talking about very similar things. And you and I were chatting the other day, and I said, "Oh, well, come on, and we're going to do this video." And
Right.
I mean, this is just like yesterday. We said, "Hey, let's do a video together."
Exactly.
So, everybody, Dr. Bridget Cooper, you're an entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you're a thought leader. You got so much stuff going on. You're the cage rattler. And that's why we brought you here
Thank
to
you.
talk about these 5 kick-ass tips. Maybe it's going to be 7, maybe it's going to be whatever, but some kick-ass tips to beat those quarantine blues. Because, hey,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You can be, big, powerful, strong guy up on the stage and everything else. You can be the frontline person. You're a doctor, a coach, a speaker, whatever. We're all experiencing this, like you said, for the first time ever.
Right.
And right now is the time when we need those coping skills, and we need even to be inventive with things, with
Oh,
what the hell
absolutely.
can we do to navigate this terrain that nobody has ever experienced before. So
Right. And so many of us who are so capable, right? Like
right.
everybody watching this has all of these, capable skills, talents, backgrounds, like you and me, we got all this stuff going on. We're movers and shakers. And all of a sudden, this microbe is threatening our lives, right? It's shut us down. It's like it's barricaded us inside. We're sharing funny memes, but like we're stressed, right?
Mhm.
And it doesn't, and the scary and almost like just it's just such an interesting thing when disease like this, like a virus like this, hits us, is that it doesn't matter how much you run, it doesn't matter how well you eat, it doesn't matter like any of the things, how old you are, like I mean there is some separation in terms of the severity
Mhm.
by age and by underlying condition, but it could hit any of us. Like
Mhm.
it could infect every single one of us. It doesn't matter how much money we have, what kind of car we drive, how well we pay our bills on time, whether or
Mhm.
not we were good kids, like it doesn't matter. And so I think that that's like this very, like, because usually like, oh well, I'm not going to get those diseases, or I'm not going to have those problems because
Right.
I'm in charge of my stuff. Well, right now it could be anything, and I think that's what all this fear is coming from. And so we
Yeah.
started on tips. So I guess my first tip, to recap, is to practice self-compassion, to
Sure.
say, whoa Nelly, this sucks, this is
Mhm.
not what I had planned for my spring, this is certainly not where I thought I was going to be spending my March that seemed like 3 years month, right? And my April and who knows how long, right? That I can really practice some self compassion, that this is hard. And I know this is hard. And one of the things that happens when we practice self compassion is we're able to say, okay, so now what? Right?
Mhm.
I can go from self compassion. And once I've done that, once I've built some of that reserve, I stand outside of like judging myself for the terrible things I'm feeling and wanting to, eat all of the Girl Scout cookies I bought all in one sitting, whatever that is, right? Is just to have self compassion for the fact that you're feeling whatever you're feeling, overwhelmed, angry, scared, suspicious, whatever, right? Like
Mhm.
all of that stuff. just practicing self-compassion can then propel us into that space that a lot of us occupy very well in other situations, which is problem solver, which is stepping into that space of, okay, so now what can I do? What am I in control of? And I think that's the second tactic, which is really kind of like carving out this list of what am I in charge of? What in my atmosphere, what in my universe, what in my sphere is in my sphere of influence? Like, what can I actually control here? So for a lot of us, it's how many times I go to the grocery store, whether or not I get the next pick in being up at 3 a.m. trying to get on the Whole Foods, delivery schedule, which by the way, apparently works. If you get up at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and you just sit poised at your station, it'll like pop up with a free time and you can actually get a delivery. I have not tried this, Rich. Have you?
No.
Okay. So, but like reducing the number of times we're out and we're doing things, right? So we can control some of those things. We can get proper rest. We can make sure that we're taking good care of ourselves. We can, if we've been smoking or vaping, knock it off. Right? Because any of those viral things are going to attack us like crazy, the more damage we've already done to our lungs. And so like making a list of the things that we can control to try to get that anxiety out, because we know that anxiety comes from fear, and fear comes from feeling like we're not in control. So the more that we can try to control the things that are useful, not other people's responses to this, not controlling the fact that it's making its way around the globe, but we can control some things, and trying to focus on those things helps us to alleviate some of that fear and reduce some of that anxiety, because oftentimes what our anxiety actually does is it paralyzes us. It stops us from being and standing in a powerful position. And so that's like, I think that's the really the very next step from self-compassion is just brainstorming and figuring out how can I reduce some of this anxiety, because a feeling is not an action. So we can feel anxiety and not behave in ways that match that anxiety, right? We can feel anxiety and not, again, go eat ourselves out of house and home and end up after COVID with our COVID-19 on, our saddle, right? So we can look at that. We can feel the feeling without actually taking an action on the feeling that is self-destructive. So, and still practicing that self-compassion. Like I really want to eat all those cookies. I really want to drink 14 tons of, alcohol. Like I want to do these terrible things because they might make me feel better for a minute. We can actually go to our other coping mechanisms, some of the other things that we can do to build our health and build our resources and build our, our kind of our arsenal of coping strategies.
Definitely.
So that would be my number 2.
Right
what do
on.
you got? You got any that you want to share? Because I keep going all day.
Oh man, I got tons. And just the other day, one of the things that I was talking about, similar to what you were just saying, is focusing on the things that we can control, and we cannot control what's going on out there. We can't control what's going on in the media. We can't control whether or not you have a curfew right now, or what businesses are being allowed to be open. And, this one is an essential business, but this one isn't. Well, why is that? Well, I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Yeah, Starbucks just closed in town, and I had like 3 people text me going, "Oh my God, what am I going to do without Starbucks?" And like, I don't know.
But just focusing on the things that we can control.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. Okay. This might
now you hang on. I gotta time you out, because whenever I say that, the thoughts, feelings, and actions, because that's one of my scripts, right, Rich? You're taking some of my stuff. We're gonna have to
stole
talk
your
about
stuff, man. I stole it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some gratuities or something, royalties. But whenever I say feelings, people are like, I can't control my feelings.
Right. Yeah, because it's somebody else that's making me feel this way. And it's like the marionette doll, the Pinocchio, like he made me do this, or he made me feel this way, and it's not my fault I feel this way. Oh, well,
right. Or this situation, I get the of course, right? The of course I feel. Now again, that's cool. But we know this, you and I know this in the work that we do and the people we work with. that the way we come into a situation, right? The ideas that we have about it, the ideas that we have about where we fit in it, what our space is in that, like what our ability to do anything is in it, that affects the way that we feel. So if I walk in and I'm like, I got this, right? If I think I got this, I'm going to feel confident, sure, energetic, powerful, right? But if I think something unhealthy, I'm going to feel something similarly unhealthy, right?
Sure.
So so we, even if we can't control the feeling, if we manage our thoughts, it affects directly our feelings, and we can control how long we indulge the feeling.
Sure.
Right? How long we lay in helpless surrender on the couch with, our spoon and our, Ben and Jerry's pint in our hands and watch, reruns of whatever. Like, we can actually control the duration of that, right? Is it one spoon or 50, right? Like, that's what we can control. You liked that example. You've been hitting the Ben and Jerry's hard.
No,
Rich,
I
right?
just had the visual of like, as you're explaining this, I'm like, she's very descriptive with this example, and I can just picture it.
You can, yeah.
And kind of supporting what you just said, sometimes it's a great idea to check in on ourselves, and like we've done this a lot in therapy, like your community check-in, when you, or even when you're working in with groups, like, how am I feeling? Because if I'm coming into this situation and I'm happy, I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic. But if I'm coming into a situation pissed off because this happened and I stubbed my toe today and I got stuck in traffic and now I can't get my Starbucks,
right,
all of a sudden, like, there's a whole lot more going on, and I might not be the most pleasant person to work alongside or cohabitate with. Well, now we're talking about, we're all in this time of crisis.
right.
If you're not checking in with yourself to say, hey, how am I feeling right now?
Right.
How am I speaking to other people? What is the message that I'm projecting? Did I answer that phone with decency and respect, or did I just
Snarl?
yell at this person because whatever?
Right, because I'm venting. Yeah.
Right.
Because
So
I'm an emotional volcano of like nonsense and aggression. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we've been teaching so much. I mean, it's like this. Some people love the word mindfulness. Some people, don't. I like presence. I like just being present, right? Being in this moment right now, not the other moment that just passed that I'm having all sorts of regrets and recriminations about, and not the moment in the future that hasn't quite hit me yet, right? I need to be in the present. And I think that the more that we practice that check-in piece is really about being present, which I would say is probably my third tactic, which is to be present in this moment. Because I just got off the phone with one of my clients and they were talking about the what ifs, right? And I call it the what if monster. The what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, right? And you could what if yourself into a state of absolute paralysis because you don't know, because each what if leads to another opportunity for action, but you're not there yet. So you can't do anything about it. So all you're doing is like ruminating on all the what ifs. So if you could practice in this moment, being present in this moment, like, what is the next best action I can take right now? Because I can't control if I'm going to be in quarantine for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever. What action can I take? So if I'm fearful that I'm going to be here for another 6 to 8 weeks, what are some things that I can do now, right now, in this moment, to affect those subsequent moments? Then I reclaim my power. Then I reclaim some influence over what's going on. So like for me, I've made a decision. I'm only going out like for milk. Milk is my like operative like trigger. So I need to not run out of milk. So I'm going to buy 3 gallons. Now I've decided that I realize that my kids and I go through, we can get through 3 gallons before they expire. Right. So if I buy 3 gallons and it has some future date, it's not like the ones that are expiring in like 3 days, watch that. But like I can get through 3 gallons. So I've told my kids, guys, I go out when I can get 3 gallons. Like when this milk empties, I'm going out. If I get it at that trip, we have it in the house. If I don't get it at that trip, We don't have it in the house until the next time I go out to get 3 more gallons of milk, right? So it's little things like that that can allow us to feel like, okay, so I have some system in place for this. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I think that the next thing for me, and I know you work with people on this, which is that acknowledging our own abilities, acknowledging our own capability to be able to respond to anything. We have been, all of us have been through some version of hell. We've all climbed out of some nasty, dark, sludgy hole, right? Like, we have all been bruised, battered, kicked, shoved, whatever, right? Some of us more than others, you know, but we have. So this is a very different thing, and we've reviewed how different this is.
Sure.
But it's a challenge. And we have all overcome so many challenges. And what I hear so much, and you probably hear this with your people, is that they'll come to me, they're like, I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, how many times have you slayed demons before? Like, let's go back and like write down the list of all the demons and beasts and titans that you have kicked ass on, before. And let's look at, like, what did you do to get through those things? Like, what were the resources you used to get there? Well, guess what? They're probably going to come in pretty handy here. Not all of them, and they're not going to shove out all of the darkness. They're not going to take away all of the fear, but they're going to do something, right? So, all right, I'm going to hand it over to you, because I could just keep going and going and going, Rich.
Keep going. We're talking to you. We're talking to you. They're tired of hearing me.
No, they're not tired of hearing you.
But I'm glad that you said that, because those tools and resources are easily transferable. And you're right, maybe the circumstance was different. And the silly example, but it's an easy example that I always give, is a fork. You have a fork to eat, you know, your salad. You know what? If you're eating carrots or steak or chicken, it's the same fork. It doesn't matter that the situation is different. It doesn't matter that the food on the plate is different. It's still that tool. So just those tools that you use to slay those demons could be the same tools that you're going to use to slay these demons. Different demons, but same tools.
And it might be, and there might be some shifts. Like, I'm sorry, but if I haven't done the dishes in a while, or they're all in the dishwasher, and I go into the drawer and I have to have my nightly yogurt, and all there are forks left, guess what? I'm going to be eating my yogurt with a fork. All right. Or I'm going to be going into the cabinet. Now I'm giving you way too much personal information, but I'm going to go into the cabinet and I'm going to grab some graham crackers and I'm going to scoop up, right? And I'm going to use it. So here's the thing. If you believe that you have been resourceful, if you reflect back and recognize all the ways in which you've been resourceful in the past, you will recognize that you have what it takes to be resourceful now. It doesn't mean, and I say this to people all the time, when we're dealing with conflict or we're dealing with stresses like this, you cannot judge your effectiveness on the response of the other person. So you can't judge your effectiveness of your interventions on whether or not the COVID goes away, right? We can only judge our effectiveness on our intention and our experience of that moment, right? Like, that's how we know that we were effective in that moment. That's how we know that we did the best that we could, was we did the best that we could, right? We used the resources that we had and we put them into play, and we got through that moment. And now we get to the next moment, right? And this is going to be a moment to moment kind of battle in a lot of ways of trying to figure this out, you know? And there was this story that my boyfriend sent to me. It was I think it was, I don't know if it was New York Times, but anyway, he gets all these, he's a bibliophile, right? He like gets all this information, sends it over to me. But there was this story about this guy who lives all by himself on an island off the coast of Italy. Like, has the whole island to himself, right? Now, I'd love to see the history of all this, but the story goes that he went sailing one day. I don't know, he was like out in the water, and he ended up on this island, and this old guy who was the master of the island before trained him to be the master of the island. That guy died. And then he took over, right? So he's been on this island by himself for like decades, I mean, seriously decades. And he wrote this thing about how we're having such a hard time with this because in the past, we've been able to send our attention elsewhere, not inside. And all of a sudden, we're cooped up inside. A lot of us are alone, or, feels like we're alone because we're living with teenagers, right?
Mm.
So we're in the space and we can't distract ourselves with the busyness,
Mm-hmm.
right? With the workaholism, with the going to the gym, with the going out drinking, like doing whatever. All of a sudden we're stuck with ourselves. And he was like, that doesn't scare me because I've been doing that my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been taking that fearless trek inside,
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that. So I think the next thing for me is to see this period. A lot of us see it as, oh my God, we've got to get through this. How are we going to get out? Hang on a second. You're here.
Mm-hmm.
And building on the presence piece, be here.
Mm-hmm.
Get back into this moment and spend some time, because you could come out of this. And I'm not saying, like, again, not to have self-compassion and take a day and just binge watch Netflix and, yes, I'm still watching Netflix, don't judge me, right? Is to sit in that, but also to recognize that we could come out of this on the other side more evolved than we came in, because we took the time to go in and to watch things like this and to read things and to really spend some time with ourselves, undistracted by the
Mm-hmm.
busyness of the world, by the hectic nature of our lives, by the driving and racing back and forth to different places, but simply going inside and checking in with ourselves and figuring out what growth opportunity could I take advantage of right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
so that when I walk out of here, I walk out of here in a renewed place, right?
Definitely.
I'm more flexible in thought. I'm stronger in conviction. I'm whatever, and I think there's a way to do that, and to be able to find other ways to connect with people,
Mm-hmm.
connect with the people that we love. And that would be my next tip, is to be really creative, to search for creative opportunities. What's this? There's an app called House Party. Have you heard of this one, Rich?
Yeah, my friend sent me that, and I was just like, maybe, I don't know.
Come on. All right, Rich. All right. This is game on. Okay.
But I
Because
didn't.
somebody posted about it and I'm totally curious. But basically, it's kind of like FaceTime, but with games. Like right now, you and I could be playing, I don't know, ping pong or something. I have no idea. But
Okay.
we could be doing something like as we're FaceTiming, which is just like leveling up the whole FaceTime experience. But there are ways of deepening our connections, because we feel like, oh my God, we're so disconnected. We're not spending time with people. But you know this, and everybody who's watching this knows this. You've
Mm-hmm.
sat at dinner or in some public setting with people, and you know what?
Yep.
What are you doing?
Yep.
What are you doing? You're not actually with them,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Now we get to have an opportunity to invest in those moments very
Yeah.
differently. Be very intentional about getting on a FaceTime with somebody. Be very intentional about having a phone call with someone, because we're not going to be doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when we get out of here, we're going to be a whole lot different if we commit to it.
Mm-hmm.
Be a whole lot different, because now we treasure the fact that we ever have those moments, you
Sure.
know? That we have the ability to walk up to a friend and hug them. Like I've been out on socially distant walks, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, and I have friends, like their love language is touch, and I can't hug them.
Yeah.
So I actually, one of my friends, I hugged a tree,
Uh-huh.
and then I walked and I said, go ahead. I left the hug for you
Oh
right
yeah.
there. I don't think bark can, I didn't spit on it. I didn't talk to it. I didn't do it. I didn't, I had gloved hands. I
Uh-huh.
think that was okay. Right. She hugged the tree because it was like transferring the hug.
Nice, nice, nice.
But but we figure out those ways of being able to even more deeply connect to
Mm-hmm.
people. So I think that's another thing we can do.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. And you want me to keep going?
By my count, we're up to 4.
Are we at 4? Okay.
That's by my count. I mean, I know that you've been dropping value bombs the entire time. So if I was being really precise, we're probably like well above 10. But I was only counting every time you said, and this is another one. So
And a theme, yeah. I'm trying to group them by theme in my
right,
brain,
right.
right? So yeah. And I think so one of the things that I talk about in one of my videos, so I do these things called car conversations with Dr. B.
Mm-hmm.
And I always started out kind of, obvious, because I'm in my car
Right.
and I'm Dr. B and we're going to have a conversation anyway. So but I have these conversations where I just sit in my car and because where it started was years ago, I was coming out from a meeting with a client and something happened in the meeting and I was just like struck, like this happens all the time. Why are people doing this? Right.
Mm-hmm.
No disparaging comment on my client, but just the fact that like our human nature leads us down these ugly paths. So I sat in my car and I just started talking to my phone, like, listen, like people, get a hold of yourselves. Like, why are you doing this? And people were like, oh, that was good. Oh, you're gonna have to do that again. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just sit in my car because, I don't know, I'm sitting in my car. I'm driving all the time. So I'll just pull over and say something. So anyway,
Yeah.
but I was talking about the idea of grief.
Okay.
And again, this goes back a little bit to the self-compassion and the presence, but to recognize that a lot of what we're going through right now is grief. It's grief for the way life used to be. It's grief for a lot of us who have kids of all the things that they're not able to do. The seniors who aren't probably going to walk down the hallway with their friends again before they
Mm-hmm.
graduate. A lot of seniors in college who aren't going to have graduations. Kids who aren't going to have proms. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter was supposed to have surgery next week. Actually, no, sorry, this Friday, and she won't have, now she has to put off her surgery for some
Mm-hmm.
period of time. Like there's all these things, these moments that are like people have had to reschedule their weddings and
Mm-hmm.
and we have to recognize that that is grief. And
Mm-hmm.
the more that we try to like cover it over or whatever, I think we need to spend a little bit of time in what grief tells us. And what grief actually is, there was a definition I heard many years ago, and I attached to it because it's beautiful, is that grief is simply love with nowhere to go.
Hmm.
And if you pause on that for a second, right, and you think about, okay, so I'm a power broker, like I'm a person who stands in my power. I do the things that are important to do in this world. So if grief is simply love with nowhere to go, then what's the action that comes after that? Love.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do I send love in a different direction, in a different way into the world? Because if I'm grieving something, then I have this love that has been like stopped, right? Like I'm trying to head down this road, I'm trying to head down this road, and I can't get there because it's been that road shut down, like under construction, the bridge blew out, whatever. I can't get to that place to show my love, to show my excitement, to celebrate something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I got to go somewhere else. So that's why you see like all these beautiful stories and of people like, making masks for people and like building care packages and sending letters to seniors and, doing videos and like, having these like parades in towns so that kids can see their teachers. You know what I mean? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff. So when you're feeling like recognizing that you're in a grief process,
Mm-hmm.
try to find where you can send the love, because we come from it, we return to it, we live in it, right? We forget that sometimes, but we are love. So how do we go about getting some of the love that is being sent back or cut off or like rejected at some level,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't get to those spaces and places and people? How do we figure out how to send it differently? So I'm going to tell you a personal story, and I think my boyfriend's watching, so he's probably going to be like, kill me for this, but so my boyfriend and I made the decision because of the exposure in his house to COVID, because he's got a person who lives with him who is a nurse, God bless her,
Mm-hmm.
who's right on the front lines. And I'm quarantined in my house with my daughters. And so we made the really painful decision that we needed to stop seeing each other in person, like to
Mm-hmm.
spending time together, because we were raising that, that transmission factor, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm asthmatic, so I would be a person who would be immune compromised, and it could have really bad
Sure.
results. So that grief will like hit me like a truck, and I can't speak for him, maybe he was like, whew, God, thank God I don't have to spend so much time with her, but I felt the grief, right? So I was like, okay, because I know that grief is love with nowhere to go. How do I go about sending love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I go about making it come through me and to him differently, knowing that I can't actually like be in his direct presence,
Right.
like we spent a lot of time together. So one of the things I did was we had gone out a couple of weeks ago and we bought a tree that I was going to plant in my front area. And we had planned to plant it together and we just hadn't gotten around to it. Right. And so I'm realizing like, I really need to plant it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to see him in person anymore. Like this, and then I got really sad. Like I all of a sudden was struck by the idea that I was now going to plant this tree. And every time I drove into my driveway, I was going to be reminded of our separation, right? Like I was going to see that. So I went out and I dug the hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he knows this. If you're watching, you know that you would not have let me dig the hole if we had done this together. You would have set me aside and been like, I got this, right? But I did it. So I dug the hole and then I called him and I FaceTimed him and I said, hey, babe, look at this. And I think he was kind of like, you dug the hole. Anyway, but I said, so here's my idea. We're going to plant the tree together.
Mm-hmm.
I dug the hole. Can you come over and put the tree in?
Mm-hmm.
So he did. So we found another way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that we have to remember that we can always, always, always find another way because we are resourceful. And because if we come from love, if we come from that place of wanting to put more good and more light into the world, we will find a way to express those things in a way that will alleviate some of that suffering that we're all feeling, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my way. So now I have a tree that we planted together. And by the way, I like hung out my front window and like looking like Rapunzel as he pulled in. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just here giving direction. But anyway, but those are the things that we do. And so I think we want to make sure that we don't get stopped by this. Like we don't see the door shutting. Like we often talk about that, like one door shuts and another door opens. Well, usually another door opens or three windows and a hallway and but we stand looking at that door so long, we forget that there's all these other ways to get around it. So I think it's recognizing that grief thing and looking for other opportunities, like finding other ways around the problem.
Awesome.
So I don't know what number are we up to now. I think we're up at 5, maybe 6, 12, 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We are. So real quick, and I probably should have said this before. I assumed it went without saying, but sometimes they need to be said. So if anyone has any questions, anyone has any comments, whether it's now in this real time and space or at some point in time in the future, because we're going to share this, it's also going to be posted on YouTube and LinkedIn and all that good stuff. If anyone has any comments, any questions, any feedback, anything for Dr. B, put that in the comments area. Once again, whether it's here on Facebook, whether it's in the future when I put it on YouTube, probably this weekend, whatever, I will be continuing to monitor this video, the broadcast and the replay of it. And if you have any questions for Dr. B, drop them in the comments and we'll be sure to respond. And it might turn into one of those things where, this happened today, I don't know, April 8th or something or other, at 5:30 Eastern time, but the conversation could continue days and weeks into the future because it's a live discussion and it's something that we're continuing to live through, something that we're continuing to benefit from, because all of the examples, all of the points, whether it was 5 or 25 that Dr. B gave today, these are things that we need to be practicing on a daily basis. It's not one of those things like, oh, well, I was mindful yesterday.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations.
Oh, it doesn't work like that, Rich?
Congratulations.
I thought we just did it like you just got it through on to-do list. Like you do it on Monday and then it gets you for the week.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if that was the case, we'd all have 6-pack abs and everything, because I went to the gym, when the advertisers came and, it was a discount for January 1st. And I went there and I was there for a solid 2 hours. And for whatever reason, today.
I'm still I have a complaint for that. Like I don't know if I'm the only one who goes to the gym. And when I get home, I'm like, why aren't I different? I thought I went to the gym. Like, wasn't that the thing? Like I go to the gym and then they take the fat and they take the lack of, like tone, and then they give me the new thing and then I leave. Isn't that what I do? Like, I thought that's what I did.
You got to pay more money. And yeah.
I'm probably at the wrong gym. Sorry, guys. I must be at
Yeah,
the wrong gym because I kept
done.
waiting for that to happen.
Gotta read the small print.
Yeah, like I'm like, I did 50 leg lifts. I don't understand. Why don't I look like Gal Gadot? Like, I swear to God, that's what I was going for. Oh well. I guess there has to be consistency and
Better luck next year.
repetition.
Better luck next year for next year's New Year's resolution.
Yeah, well, 2020, can just hit the reset button apparently. I don't know if you've seen the Barbara Walters meme. It's like I'm Barbara Walters and this is 2020. We're like, no, Barbara, no, this can't, no, we need to skip this.
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah. And then they said there was another one which was shouldn't Morgan Freeman be like narrating this at this point?
Oh man, that would be amazing. And you know that it's going to happen probably 5 years into the future. They're going to make a documentary. And I would watch that if Morgan Freeman were.
Oh my God. Absolutely. It would be so amazing. Yeah. Because I actually watched a movie with him today on Netflix because, I had it in the background while I was writing my next book because I committed that I was getting it out for my birthday in July. And and so he plays the president and Gerald Butler plays the Secret Service agent. Anyway, but I was like, there's my Morgan Freeman. I'm like, come on. Start narrating this thing already.
So on a side note, but for whatever reason, it just sparked an idea. So in one of the programs that I work with teens, and a while ago, I mean, this was weeks ago, we were talking about, big events that have happened where people remember exactly where they were at this time. And the teens that I work with were not alive for 9/11. And we were watching, we were watching a History Channel 9/11 show or whatever, and we were explaining to these kids, oh man, you guys weren't born for this, but everybody in the United States of America remembered where they were when this happened. Well, the other day I was speaking to them and I said, hey, you know what? Now this is your situation. And 10, 20 years from now, you're going to be telling your kids about this time that you had to stay indoors for weeks, and your kids are going to look at you. I said, and I said, remember how you didn't have that situation when we were talking about it around the round table? Well, now you have.
Congratulations.
Join the club, kids.
Yeah, now you have trauma. Good job. You've got cultural trauma to connect over. Isn't that great? We're pretty excited for you because now you can be part of the trauma club. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I actually said the same thing to my daughters. I was like, someday you're going to be sitting around like a conference room table or something, and you're going to say, how old were you? Like, where were you? And they're going to be able to share like, oh, I missed my graduation. Oh, I missed my prom. Oh, my grandmother died. Oh, like whatever. Like everybody's going to have a story, and it's going to anchor you to where you were relative to where they were, like how that looked. And it's going to be the 9/11 of their generation because my two kids, my older daughter was 3 months old when 9/11 hit, and we lived right outside of Washington D.C. I worked in Washington D.C. right next to the State Department of the White House, like in that little block. So and I tell those stories, and they just are like, okay, like
right. Because even watching it on video, you can't even put it into context. Like, I mean, obviously there's big events in history that I wasn't alive for. And I'm just like, I can read the facts, but I'm just like, I wasn't there for it. But
you don't know, like the Kennedy assassination, you can't kind of like ingest the hope and all of those things that people had, that false sense of security that couldn't happen or wouldn't happen. And then it happened, and they don't know a life without terrorism or, going through metal detectors and, standing in line at TSA forever. Like, I remember walking my dad right to the gate and like, bye, Dad,
Right.
Like, so there's no context, but now we have a context. And it's the sad news that we're going through this, but it's the
Hmm.
good news, because the next time we get hit with this, the
Hmm.
good news is from all those people who are worried like crazy. I want somebody go out and watch some of the interviews with Bill Gates, not because you have to love Bill Gates or not love Bill Gates, but he has a very sound approach to what needs to happen in order for us to respond differently in the future than we collectively responded to this,
Hmm.
so that we don't have the same level of just disintegration that we've had at some level now,
Hmm.
like economic and social and otherwise, that we can respond differently because we'll have an infrastructure that's set up for this. So unfortunately, we didn't prepare this time, but we
Hmm.
have the rare opportunity now to prepare the next time, to be more ready,
Definitely.
to diminish our, our exposure and all of that, because frankly, this time this happened, naturally, right? This happened, just through biology, but next time it could happen intentionally. And so
Hmm.
we need to be, we need to collect our strategies and our resources this time so that we are prepared and we can respond differently next time, both, again, individually and collectively. And we got this. We're gonna make
Absolutely.
it to the other side of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Bridget, you have anything before
All I can say is
before
how
we
I
go,
always
again?
sign off on my car conversations with Dr. B is that what we need to do is we need to be powerful, and how we are powerful is by being the light, is by going out and bringing the light out into the world. So thank you, Rich, for allowing me to be on this today so that we could talk and be the light to others, and reach out and help other people find their light, because this is for a lot of people a really dark time, and we need other people.
Definitely. So you stand on a line for
Okay.
everybody else. Again, whether you watch this live right here on Facebook or you're going to watch it at some point in time in the future, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever else, I don't know. If you have any questions, comments, anything that you want to add, if you're looking for an explanation for anything that Dr. B said, anything along those lines, put your thoughts in the comments area. I will be sure to monitor it across all channels, and I'll let Bridget know, Dr. B know, when we can bring her back in to answer those questions. We'll continue to monitor them. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Remember to join the Facebook group, 10-Minute Mentor Podcast Community. We had Dr. B on there last year. And right after this, we're going to record a very special episode for 10-Minute Mentor. And when you join the Facebook community, it's right there in the show notes, 10-Minute Mentor Podcast Community. You'll be the first one to be notified when the new episode drops every Monday. So thank you all who watch this in live and on the replay. Dr. B, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, and be excellent. Bye-bye.
Bye.